Recently I had an opportunity to spend some time with some presbytery leaders and synod executives, and one of them pointed out that our membership trajectory, which, as we often hear, has been on a downward pathway, would actually be showing an upward trajectory if we were counting those who have entered into our Presbyterian family through the New Worshiping Communities initiative. And so as I've traveled around, I have made a request of those who are inviting us as moderators to give us an opportunity to see what these new worshiping communities look like. And in Louisiana, in New Orleans, I got to spend time both on a visit and then at a community day with the Okra Abbey, which is essentially a community garden, but it's also a new worshiping community. And every Wednesday they serve lunch to the neighbors who come, and they engage in prayer for the neighborhood. They serve a healthy meal from the vegetables that they are growing there, and they study scripture together. Pastors from local congregations, the young adult volunteers who are a part of the Okra Abbey, and the neighbors from the Pigeon Town community of New Orleans, which is. They said they don't like the term food desert because that sounds like it's something that occurs naturally, but a community that experiences food apartheid without access to fresh food in their neighborhood. They are growing that fresh food and helping people learn how to cultivate seeds into their own vegetables, and moving towards having people plant gardens in their own yards so that there might be fresh food for all their neighbors. And I see great potential in the creativity and the innovation that is happening in these worshiping communities, and I see in the work of our assembly attempts to try to find a way to count all of that growth in our Presbyterian system. Of course, we have to do that decently and in order, but I think that tells a different story, not one of ongoing decline, but one of growth. We just haven't figured out how to account for it in our system yet.
I think one of the ways that I see our congregation growing and the church growing are all the seeds that we get to plant, especially in our young folks. I have had the honor and the privilege and the joy of being with the Montreat Youth Conference conferences over the past several years, and every time that experience happens, there's always seeds being planted that will later grow. Little did I know that in 2018, the opportunity I had to preach before 1,200 youth, little did I know that a seed was planted in one who now in 2025 has asked me to come back and preach, as she now is the director, one of the co-directors for the conference. Her response was, "You taught us that whatever God brings us to, God will bring us through." She said, and that got her through high school, got her through college, got her through marriage, and now she is thriving to do the work that God has called her to do. That kind of growth, we don't hear those stories all the time, but when we do hear them, they're worth celebrating. And that, for me, is the perfect picture of growth in our church. Looking at our youth and looking at their conferences, and I'm excited, even Tony, for you and I, to be at the Triennium this year, where we'll get to plant even more seeds and watch the church grow. Young adults are very vital to our congregation. Not so much because there are individuals who say, oh, the young people this, the young people that. That's not the real reason they're most important. The real reason that they are valuable and important is because they hold the centerpiece between what used to be and what can be. We know that in their hands, they can receive everything from those who have gone before them, but they can also mold it and shape it so that we are preparing a future, one full of hope, just as Scripture tells us that God knows the future plans for us, for prosperity and for growth, and for there to be a future full of hope. Our young people, our young adults, are the catalyst for that growth.
So I recently was invited to join a joint Methodist and Presbyterian campus ministry between Loyola and Tulane universities in New Orleans for their Sunday evening Bible study and fellowship dinner. And as I watched them engage this sacred text, this ancient story, and extend to one another that kind of love and hospitality as they wrestled with that and the events of the week. And then they began to share about the ways that they're feeling called to respond to those anxieties they feel. Some of them prayerfully, others through activism and getting involved in campus and planning events and doing advocacy work. Which reminded me of being with the Jesus and Justice Conference and young adults from Charlotte, North Carolina, and their passion for advocacy in these times. There is a hunger amongst our young people to reshape the world, to examine the systems and structures that they are inheriting, to question them, and to seek to reshape them. And I think the church has. We have just a storehouse of policy papers presented by our General Assembly, but also a rich theological tradition that talks about the kingdom that is coming and our responsibility to try to, through our discipleship and our following of Jesus, to make this world and our neighborhoods and communities look like that kingdom as much as we can, and they are hungry for that.